Imagine living in a world where your every movement is monitored, your every action is controlled. This is not a dystopian novel, but a chilling reality for millions of inmates worldwide, confined within walls that echo with tales of harsh conditions. Our mission today is not to induce fear, but to shed light on the grim corners of our world, specifically the most terrible prisons. Prepare yourself as we delve into the heart of darkness, the top 5 most terrible prisons in the world. In the 5th spot, we have La Sabaneta, a prison located in Venezuela. This is a place where the concept of human rights seems to have been forgotten, where the walls whisper stories of despair and the air carries the weight of the inmates' struggles for survival. La Sabaneta is infamous for its overcrowded conditions. It was designed to house 700 inmates, but instead it holds over 3,000. This overcrowding has led to a volatile environment where violent outbreaks are not just frequent, they are a part of daily life. Inmates live in an atmosphere of constant fear, never knowing when the next wave of violence will erupt. This is a place where the law of the jungle reigns supreme. The most ruthless inmates rule, their authority unchallenged, their reign unbroken. They are the ones who decide who lives and who dies, who eats and who starves. The prison guards are nothing more than spectators, their presence barely making a dent in the chaos that is La Sabaneta. But the violence is not the only thing the inmates have to worry about. Basic necessities like food, water, and clothing are in short supply. Inmates often have to rely on their families to provide for them, and those who have no one are left to fend for themselves. Medical care is practically non-existent. The spread of diseases is rampant, with tuberculosis, HIV, and other infectious diseases claiming lives regularly. The lack of sanitation and the close quarters in which the inmates live make it a breeding ground for these diseases. La Sabaneta is a place where survival is not guaranteed. It's a place where every day is a battle, where every moment is a struggle. Inmates live with the knowledge that each day could be their last, that each breath could be their final one. So, the next time you find yourself complaining about your living conditions, spare a thought for the inmates of La Sabaneta. They live in a world where the term living conditions has lost all meaning, where survival is not a right but a privilege, and where every day brings with it a new challenge. La Sabaneta, where survival is a daily battle. Our 4th most terrible prison is none other than Diyarbakir Prison in Turkey. This notorious facility is a chilling testament to the dark side of human nature, where the most basic rights are often nothing more than an empty promise. Diyarbakir Prison is infamous for its inhumane treatment of prisoners. The walls of this prison echo with tales of physical torture and mental abuse, a grim reality of life for those unfortunate enough to be confined within them. The prisoners are subjected to unthinkable acts of violence, a methodical breaking of the human spirit in an environment devoid of compassion or decency. The prison's reputation for brutality is not unwarranted. The stories that seep out from its closed doors reveal a world where human dignity is systematically stripped away, leaving behind only the bare bones of survival. The issue of severe overcrowding at Diyarbakir Prison only serves to amplify the severity of its conditions. The prison, originally designed to house a limited number of inmates, is often filled beyond capacity. This overcrowding exacerbates the already deplorable conditions, forcing prisoners into cramped cells with barely enough space to breathe. The lack of basic necessities, coupled with the constant threat of violence, creates a pressure cooker environment that is a breeding ground for despair and desperation. If the physical conditions weren't disturbing enough, the numerous accounts of human rights violations reported at this prison are downright horrifying. The international community has repeatedly raised concerns about the blatant disregard for human rights at Diyarbakir Prison. Yet, despite the global outcry, these violations continue unchecked, reflecting a shocking indifference to the plight of the prisoners. In this bleak landscape of suffering and despair, prisoners are reduced to mere numbers, their humanity forgotten. They are left to fend for themselves in an environment that seems more like a nightmare than a place of correction. The grim reality of Diyarbakir Prison paints a stark picture of a world where human rights are not just ignored, but openly violated. Diyarbakir Prison, a place where human rights seem to be a forgotten concept. This prison stands as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink when left unchecked, a chilling testament to the darkest corners of our world. Taking the 3rd spot is Tadmor Military Prison, located in Syria. A chilling specter of inhumanity, this prison is an embodiment of brutality and fear. Situated in the desolate desert landscape of eastern Syria, Tadmor has been synonymous with the darkest aspects of the human condition. The prison's infamous reputation was firmly cemented in the annals of history following the appalling massacre of 1980. In an act of unthinkable reprisal, the regime of Hafez al-Assad ordered the execution of hundreds of prisoners in the wake of an assassination attempt on his life. The number of casualties remains a subject of contention, with estimates ranging from 500 to a staggering 2,000. The chilling reality is that the exact toll will likely never be known, but one fact remains indisputable. It was a bloodbath that shocked the world. Tadmor Military Prison was not just a place of punishment, but of systemic dehumanization. It was a realm where the concept of legal rights was virtually non-existent. Prisoners languished in squalid conditions, subjected to relentless physical and psychological torture. The International Human Rights Watch reported appalling instances of human rights abuses, including beatings, hangings, and the infamous tire method of torture. The prison's architecture itself was designed to instill a sense of fear and isolation. The labyrinthine layout, the tiny windowless cells, the long, ominous corridors, all were part of a calculated strategy to break the spirit of those unfortunate enough to find themselves within its walls. The prison was finally destroyed in 2015 during the Syrian civil war, its remains serving as a grim reminder of its horrifying past. But the legacy of Tadmor Military Prison lives on, in the memories of those who survived its horrors, and in the countless stories of those who did not. Tadmor Military Prison, a haunting symbol of brutality. It stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human cruelty, a place where the line between justice and barbarism was not just blurred, but completely obliterated. The second most terrible prison on our list is Camp 22 in North Korea. A shroud of secrecy cloaks this prison camp, nestled deep within the isolated nation. The North Korean government is notoriously tight-lipped about its inner workings, but what has been reported paints a chilling picture. Rumors of human experimentation have swirled around Camp 22 for years. The exact nature of these alleged experiments is unknown, but they are said to be gruesome and inhumane, violating every conceivable moral and ethical boundary. Basic human rights seem to be a forgotten concept within these walls. Prisoners are reportedly subjected to harsh and brutal treatment. The regime's iron fist leaves no room for mercy or compassion. The living conditions in Camp 22 are as grim as they come. The prison camp is believed to house an estimated 50,000 prisoners. Each one of them is forced to endure squalid living conditions that most of us could scarcely imagine. Cramped quarters, scarce food, and a complete lack of medical care are just the tip of the iceberg. The stories that leak out from this place are few and far between, but they all tell a tale of unimaginable suffering. The world may not know the full extent of what goes on behind the foreboding walls of Camp 22, but what we do know is enough to make it the second most terrible prison on our list. Camp 22, a grim reminder of the horrors that can occur behind closed doors. And now, the most terrible prison in the world, ADX Florence in the United States. Let's delve into the chilling reality of this supermax facility. Designed to house the most dangerous criminals, ADX Florence is a fortress of isolation, a place where inmates are subjected to conditions that defy human endurance. The prison is renowned for its 23-hour solitary confinement policy. Inmates spend an overwhelming majority of their day, every day, locked within the confines of a 7 by 12-foot cell. These cells, outfitted with a concrete bed and stool, offer minimal comfort. The small window, too high to see out of, serves only to let in a hint of natural light. The remaining hour of the day is spent in a slightly larger recreation cage, still alone. This extreme seclusion, devoid of human contact, is a stark contrast to the bustling activity most of us associate with prison life. The psychological impact of such isolation is profound. Many inmates experience severe depression, hallucinations, and panic attacks. Some even lose the ability to interact with others or function in a social setting. The effects are so severe that they've been compared to those of torture. ADX Florence is home to some of the most notorious criminals in the United States. This includes the infamous Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, and the 1993 World Trade Center bomber, Ramzi Yousef. The prison also housed Robert Hanssen, the former FBI agent turned Russian spy. The presence of these high-profile inmates underscores the prison's purpose: to contain individuals deemed too dangerous for the general inmate population. It's a place where society's rules are replaced by an uncompromising regimen of isolation and control. ADX Florence, the epitome of isolation and despair. a stark reminder of the harsh realities of prison life around the world. This concludes our journey through the most terrible prisons in the world, each one a chilling testament to the lengths societies will go to punish and isolate those who transgress their laws.